Hey everybody, it's Michael from Wahoo Comics here with another haul and speculation video. And as usual, I've got a bunch of books I'm looking forward to showing you, starting off with this one, Incredible Hulk number 340, which contains this iconic Todd McFarlane cover. Now, many of you know I'm a big fan of Todd McFarlane and also a big fan of investing in his important books because there's a lot of people like me who grew up on him, and so there's a high demand for these books and for the foreseeable future, I think. And this is probably his second most famous cover behind Amazing Spider-Man number 300, which is big not only because of the cover, but because it also contains the first appearance of Venom. And that's a book I really want in my collection one day that I don't have, but I am very happy to pick up this one. It's one that's been homaged many, many times. And speaking of homages, in Amazing Spider-Man number 300, I also got Incredible Hulk number 344, which is an homage to that cover. And it's kind of interesting with Todd McFarlane. He might be the only artist I've seen do this, but at least the one I've seen do it the most, who homages his own covers. I guess he knows how good his artwork is, and so loves to play on it. And so this is the Hulk kind of version of that ASM 300 cover, and so I'm glad to have it. And one more McFarlane cover that I picked up was this one, Incredible Hulk number 345. And as I've talked about before, something I just personally love on covers is whenever the character interacts with the title. And so this is just a cool cover of the Hulk kind of bursting through the brick words that are up top. And so just an awesome cover. And so really glad to add all three of those McFarlane covers to my collection. But in addition to those books, I also picked up a couple of Batman keys. As I've talked about before, Batman is as safe an investment as you can have in comic books. People love him. And this is Detective Comics number 583, and this contains the first appearance of Scarface and the Ventriloquist. And so part of course, his Rogues Gallery. And anytime I can pick up one of his Rogues first appearance for a good price, I always jump on it. And this is definitely one of the more affordable ones. And so if you're looking for a Batman villain to pick up, this one is a good one to look at, I think. You know, obviously you've got Poison Ivy and Riddler and Penguin, all those, but those are big money books. But this is a good, not cheap book, but pretty budget friendly for a Batman villain first appearance. So I'm glad to have it. And I also got Batman Sword of Azrael number 1, which contains the first appearance of Azrael, who's kind of got an on and off relationship with Batman. Sometimes they're on the same side, sometimes they're against each other because he's more of a vigilante type and anti-hero, which of course Batman is in some level too, but he's even rougher. And I especially like this because the first Batman story I ever read all the way through was Nightfall, which ends with Azrael taking on the mantle of Batman. And I remember that being such a huge storyline, back, I guess, a couple of decades ago, and just being shocked that happened, that Bruce Wayne wasn't Batman anymore and you had this new guy. And I also find his story interesting because he was basically part of a cult, raised in it, raised to be Azrael. And I'm always just interested in cult stories and why people join cults and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, I have a interest and fascination in his character for that reason as well. So I am glad to have this one. I also picked up Kingpin number 1, which of course is the first solo series of the Kingpin. And there is heavy speculation that this character is going to show up in the MCU sooner rather than later. And so, of course, his big book's first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 50 is way off the charts in terms of price for a budget. It's going up. I think it's a great book to invest in right now if you have the money. But if you don't and you're looking again for more budget-friendly options, after you get past those big books, I think this is a good one to pick up. I think it will grow in value. Of course, as people can't afford those biggest books anymore, they start looking for the next best thing. And I think this is the next best thing. And he's been hinted at already in the Hawkeye series. And I haven't seen the last episode yet, but I think before the end of the show, there's a good chance that he makes a cameo appearance. We'll see. His story ties a lot into the Echo character story who's in that show. But sooner rather than later, I think this character is going to be there, and it's going to be the same actor that was in the Daredevil Netflix series, and I thought he knocked that role out of the park, and so I know he'll do that in the MCU, and so I'm really excited to see him on the big screen and also in some of these other Disney Plus shows. So I'm glad to have gotten this one while it's still pretty affordable, and you might can find it at cover price. A couple of other pretty budget-friendly books. Here's Soviet Super Soldiers #1, which of course is the first. I think this is just a one-shot, but the first title for this team. And as you probably know, in the Black Widow, the Red Guardian was introduced to us, and also Ursa Major was basically introduced to us, not as Ursa Major, but there's this character in the prison that is that character. It's kind of like an Easter egg, so if you don't know that's who it's supposed to be, you would miss it. But because of their appearances and the belief that the Red Guardian has a future going forward in the MCU, there's a lot of speculation that this team could make an appearance. And so if you're interested in that, there are a lot of affordable books that you could look at picking up, this being one of them. And I've always had a special place in my heart for this team. I always like superhero analogs, like versions of characters in other places. And so, this is basically like the Russian Avengers. And so the Red Guardian, of course, is an analog of Captain America. You have the Crimson Dynamo, who's an analog of Iron Man. I don't think he's on this, of Vostok, who's analog of Vision. Perun, an analog of Thor. And so I've always liked those kind of teams, and when they've clashed with the Avengers, obviously you have Red Guardian versus Captain America. Who's the best Captain America? And I think that's just always a fun story. So I like their team. So I do hope they show up on the big screen. I love the Red Guardian and the Black Widow. He might have been my favorite part of the movie. And so I'm glad to have this one. And relatedly, that brings me to my sleeper of the week, which is the Invincible Iron Man #9. And this is volume 3 of Iron Man. And this contains the first appearance of the Winter Guard, which is basically the Soviet super soldiers. So this Soviet super soldiers team has kind of been rebooted a few times, and each time they've come out with like a different name. So they've been like the Supreme Soviets, the Soviet super soldiers, the Winter Guard, basically the same thing, but with in some characters that overlap in those teams. But this is the first time they're the actual Winter Guard. And in my last video, I mentioned how Monica Rambeau is going to be in the upcoming Marvels movie, but we don't know what name she's going to use. It could be Captain Marvel. Seems pretty unlikely. More likely to either going to be Spectrum, Photon, or Pulsar. And depending on what that name is, the book where she's first introduced as that named character is the one that people are going to chase after. Well, I think it'll be the same way if there is a Russian superhero team introduced. If it's the Soviet super soldiers, it's Incredible Hulk #258 maybe that they're in the first time. That book will jump. It already jumped a little bit because of the Black Widow movie. But if it's the Winter Guard, then this book will jump up quite a bit. And it's already gone up a little bit, but you can probably find it in a back issue bin for around cover price. That's about what I got it for. And so if you like the Russian superhero team, want to speculate on their future, this is a sleeper one to pick up. All right, well, that brings me to my question of the week. And usually my questions are related to the books that I show, but this one isn't going to be like that. Because as you all probably know, this week No Way Home is coming out of theaters. And I'm going to have a special video later this week. I taped another episode of the Mike and Fuzz show with my friend Fuzz. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be counting down our top 5 Spider-Man stories of all time. But I'm super excited about this movie coming out. It's probably the most excited I've been since Avengers Endgame. And there's obviously so many possibilities and so many things people are speculating on. And so my question is, what are your thoughts about the movie in terms of like who do you hope shows up? There's a lot of speculation who might be in there, or what's a big theory you have, what's a hot take you have. But just give me some thought about No Way Home coming out. And for me, The thing I'm most excited about is to see how the Dr. Octopus character is in the movie, because as I'll share in our special video later this week, his redemption, at least for a time in the comics, as Superior Spider-Man was one of my favorite storylines. I don't think that's going to happen, but in the trailers he appears to maybe be a good guy, helping Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And so I think he'll eventually do that in the movie, and I'm hoping that happens. I'm a big Doc Ock fan. And so that's what I think. But what do you think about the movie? Comment below, or comment on anything else that I showed off or other books you think we should be picking up. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd ask if you consider doing that. It would be a big help in us putting out more content and growing. And I'm hoping to get to 150 subscribers pretty soon. So please consider subscribing. Of course, like the video, those things that help the algorithm and get this video promoted. So appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, I enjoyed putting it out. And be on the lookout for that special video. Probably Wednesday is when I'll release it. All right, thanks guys.